All right. So thanks for joining us today, guys. I've got a very special guest here from Powerhouse Racing. I've got Coach Johnny Z, who just happens to be my coach, and so we're going to get into some of the specifics about coaching. And so, welcome.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. Yeah, let's just make this super casual. And if you guys want to delve a little deeper into some questions, we can definitely do that. Fire away.
Awesome. And so, I'm just interested in your story. How you got into triathlon, and more specifically, how you delved into the coaching world.
Right. Yeah. Well, I started actually. My wife got me involved in running. Before was doing triathlons, I was lifting weights in the gym. No athletic background at all. Actually, I was a kid with childhood asthma. And she was actually running at McNeese State on a cross country scholarship. So running's always been in her background. But she talked me into doing a 5K one time, and I did that, and it was terrible. Came away with shin splints and that kind of thing, and I just started running more and more, and I watched my little sister do her first triathlon, and that really inspired me to do it, because I knew if she could do it, I could do it. And yeah, and then that first race really hurt because I didn't know anything about the sport. We didn't have coaches back then. This was about 12, 13 years ago, and so you had the learning curve was really long. You had to kind of learn on your own and reach out to different people. But after that, I just started getting more and more involved. Within a year, I was at the age group nationals. Became a
Awesome.
all-American, honorable mention year or two of my in the sport. So that's
That's cool.
the hook. Yeah, that's the hook that got me. So
Gotcha. You sort of have an interesting background. You have military experience, and I was just curious if that plays into the mindset of triathlon. And obviously, there's some suffering involved in serious competition.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you got to bring your mental game, especially if you choose to do long course. There's more of a factor when you're in that situation. So in the military, that's kind of where they build their soldiers, the mind first. And so luckily with that type of background, I've been able to share that and just approach this and my races, mentally strong and with the mindset. Basically, the human body is an amazing thing, and if you have the right mind, you can do anything.
Yeah, that's so true. The mental game is just key, absolutely. So, a lot of triathletes, I think probably the most are self-coached. I was the same way. I had a swim coach for a while, and then she moved out of town and wasn't really sure what to do, and wasn't really sure how a triathlete coach would kind of fit into the whole program. And it's made the world a difference. And so, what do you think a triathlete should consider when they're thinking about taking on a coach and kind of developing that relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when a athlete reaches certain barriers within their own performance, it's time to start looking at something new. If they want to stay with the sport, a lot of people are in the sport for different reasons. If you're wanting to progress and get, a little faster, start getting closer to that podium or top 10 finishes at different distances, then a coach basically will help you through that learning curve. So your learning curve is just a little more straight when you have somebody guiding you, helping you along the way. It's not for everybody though. Some people do this for social reasons and they want to hang out and, take it easy and just share the camaraderie and the social aspects of the sport as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, injury, I think, is a thing that a lot of us worry about, particularly when you're moving up in distance or intensity. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on interval training, if that sort of plays a role in that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if there's an injury out there, I've had it. So I've kind of hang my hat on the fact that I've come from a background of a different concept of coaching, and it wasn't until I became a TriDoc coach that I started to see things differently, and I started to grasp more strength training and running, with running, cycling, and swimming with more intervals just made me faster across the board. The strength training alone, I think, helped me become more injury free. But there's also some assessments that you'll need to do in order to make sure that you're not getting stronger on a poor foundation. So some type of functional movement tests are important to do. You can do that at a local gym with a personal trainer, and or watching yourself run or cycle. And you can sometimes under a trained eye, you can pinpoint some imbalances that might be there. And then you can prescribe proper strength training. But that's what's kept me out of the woods for the last, 2.5 years since my injury back in 2011. So.
Yeah, I like the idea of maybe training at a different intensity to get more bang for your training buck, if you will, as opposed to just trying to slug away at junk miles and just putting in the time, which I think a lot of athletes are guilty of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the quality is basically your time is worth a lot, and when you're able to go out there and basically cut 20% of the time that you would typically train just by adding some intensities, it's fruitful in a couple different ways. First, you're saving time, and second, you're getting faster because you're pushing yourself a little harder. And that's a good thing about TriDot is that, all those workouts that are prescribed are absolutely within your ability to complete them.
Awesome. And so what do you think about resistant band training for swimming, and what do you think about dry land? Is that something that a triathlete should consider regards to a swim?
Yeah, that's just I see it as if it's done properly, it's just a way of strength training. Yeah, getting the tendons, the small muscles, connective tissue strong before you start pulling the load of water, repeated action in the water. So another thing I would tell you to do as well is to work on your flexibility in your back, upper back, mid-lumbar, to be able to raise your hands up higher will allow you to reach further in the pool. We're told that time and time again as athletes if you're working with a swim coach, but not everybody has the flexibility in their back to do that. So in other words, if you reach higher, you're just dropping your hips deeper into the pool. So you have to find that sweet spot with your hand position. So back to your question with resistance training, it is good to train those muscle fibers and get those woken up before you hop in the pool. So absolutely, I do that a whole bunch.
Excellent, excellent. I have some friends that are, they're fantastic duathletes, and I know they can swim, and I'm trying to get them into the water for a triathlete, but they're terrified. What do you say to those athletes?
Man, I've worked with many different levels of athletes, and they first of all they got to want to do it, and sometimes it's just a personal goal or it's a serious beer bet, just to get them in the water, at least try it out. But when I work with clients one-on-one, we get in the pool. The first thing we work on is relaxation drills, because people tend to hyperventilate if they're new to swimming because the rhythm isn't there. So you want them to get relaxed in the water, to be able to exhale under the water. And you'd be surprised, a lot of people can't. Like, I started swimming late in life when I took on the sport, and I didn't know anything. I just sank to the bottom and rolled across the bottom to the other end. So those are all things that we had to learn in order to be efficient. So learning that and balance should be the first thing that they tackle.
Okay, excellent. We talked about this in our coaching call recently, but what's the theory or the benefit of compression gear?
Typically, compression was created for recovery, and it wasn't until maybe 8 years ago that different companies started using them for active use. And for the active use, it offers really good muscle containment. So it keeps the muscles from vibrating too much during activity. So if you're wearing a compression sock or compression quad sleeves or quarter tights or something like that, and you're going for a long run, the difference would be the pounding on the concrete and then running on a trail. The difference of feel there is kind of what a compression garment can do for you over long periods of time. So you won't get as tired if you're wearing a properly fitted compression piece. Mm-hmm. And for recovery, it's always been proven in the medical field that it just helps the venous flow back to the heart and helps repairing any of the torn muscle damage, over time. So I completely believe in it.
Yeah, definitely beneficial. I've kind of rethought how I use them, and my kids wonder why I'm walking around the house with funny stuff on during the day, but it makes a difference.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of struggle with was, spending the money on a power meter. I was just kind of relying on heart rate for a long time. And can you just share what the difference is for somebody who's maybe thinking about getting a power meter for their bike and what we should know about that?
Yeah, the power meter is going to allow you to train with absolutes. Okay, heart rate, you're dealing with variables. So heat of the day, the wind, tailwind, that kind of thing, it's going to change the way you put forth the output on the bike due to resistance. Power meter doesn't know that. It just knows how hard you push the pedal. So if you can do a correct assessment using a power data, then you can apply specific training loads. So you would be more effective with the power meter, especially in controlled environments. Okay. So people up north, I think, would really be able to take advantage of a good power meter because they're on their trainer anyway. And if you can dial in your proper zone 4s without winds or stop signs or stoplights or anything like that, your training is going to be much more effective. And on race day, output is output. So you don't see hills, you don't see downhills, you don't see headwinds. You just know that your power zones need to be within your correct power zone, say 200 watts for the first 30 miles and then 250 watts for the last 30, that kind of thing. If you know you stay within those zones, I can guarantee you'll have a good run.
Awesome. Excellent. What about bike fit? Is that helpful? And how do you go about getting that done?
Yeah, absolutely. Bike fit is something I hang my hat on. I think it's very important. And when I started doing it, I was one of 2 people in the greater Houston area that started back in '09 with the Slow Twitch Fit Camp.
Yeah.
And to fit a triathlete properly on a tri bike, it's best to know that the person fitting you has probably done 1 or 2 triathlons. I'm not going to say everybody needs to be a triathlete to fit a triathlete, but you want to find a reputable bike shop or fit studio. And first question you ask is, how many triathlons have you done? Because usually I see a lot of road cyclists that are fitting people in a slacked position that's pretty much upright, and it feels comfortable and great on the bike. But after mile 80 or or if it's followed by a long run, then you're not really doing yourself a justice, by not having the hips in the proper position over the bottom bracket. So that's where your money is probably going to be best spent as far as getting into the sport after you purchase your tri bike or your road bike. If you can find a properly fitted, a fit professional to set you up on your bike, that money is going to be worth more than anything else you've spent on the cycling. And it's the longest segment of the race, so it's very, very important.
Are there different schools of fitting, and what should you expect to pay for a proper fit?
Yeah, so there's different concepts. So and there's different fit tools. So I've learned the static fit techniques from a couple different courses I've had with Slow Twitch, the FIST method, and then I've also learned of kind of John Cobb has taken me under his wing and taught me a couple things of ergonomics and things that Dan Empel didn't know. So the experience goes pretty deep, and for me to be able to kind of grasp both schools of thought. I've created my own, business with Powerhouse Racing and able to see what I'm doing. Then you have Retool and Dartfish, where basically it's a fit tool. The right technician that has a background of fitting, it's a great tool to use because you can actually see the body in motion. I truly believe that's a great system of fit if you have the right fit technician.
Okay. Is that the same Cobb as like Cobb bike seats?
Yeah, that's John Cobb. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Awesome. So what could you expect to pay for a fitting session, just ballpark?
Yeah, I charge $125 for a static fit session. I also use a purely custom fit bike. So if people are trying to find the right bike, we go through a process of elimination on the fit bike to find your points in space first. Then you take the measurements off the bike and check the Slow Twitch database to find exactly which bike is going to fit you the best before you spend your money.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so you fit first before you buy. That bike fit is about $250, and it involves some follow-on. So once we create a fit sheet for you. Once your fit is completed, you buy your new bike. I can tell you where, I'll sell you one of my own. Then we bring the bike in and we take the fit parameters and apply it to the new bike. So there's a lot of follow-on there. Same with static fits. We're not going to dial you in and then send you off the way out of the way. So you want to find a reputable place that's not going to charge you again and again and again for refits.
Mm-hmm.
Retool, I believe, is going to cost you anywhere from $280 to $300, $400. Depends on how much time you're spending with the client. I think $75 to $100 an hour is what you can expect to pay, depending on what type of fit tools they're using for you.
Okay, yeah, very helpful. I think I probably adopt the other method. I found a shiny, pretty bike and bought it, and then tried to fit myself onto it, which is kind of an ongoing process.
That happens all the time, and sometimes people nail it, but a lot of times they don't, and they end up calling someone like myself to get them dialed in, and makes a big difference.
Yeah, excellent. Can you just share a mental tip that you give your athletes on how to get through something like a really challenging workout or a really challenging race, how to mentally deal with that stress?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's so important. When I talk to my clients and then they tell me some of the challenges they have in finishing workouts, or they're deep in that hurt box and things are looking gray and they're walking more than they wanted to, or nutrition failures, you have to just think about the people that are in the hospital beds, hooked up to machines, people with leukemia, people with other diseases that can't even start. They can't even get on the field. So you have to trust your wellness, you have to believe in your wellness, and you have to celebrate your wellness. And when it gets tough, you think about the people that can't do what you're doing. So every day like that is a blessing. So anytime you can get out and you can challenge yourself and challenge the course is a big plus. And just, be grateful that you can do it.
Yeah, that's very powerful. One last question here. When athletes are laying out their season, obviously they've got their A, B, and C races. How do you kind of prep them to get into the sort of the A race mentality or phase, or how do you gear up for that race?
Yeah, it starts months prior. We should probably look at that a year in advance. So, those targets change. So having them, first of all, the questions go really back to the athlete and tell them, okay, do you have time to train for this race and to get really prepared for it? And not just you, but your family, everybody else. Your work schedule is not going to send you off to some trip to Asia or something like that, while you're training for your first Ironman race. And then create the plan. And once you create the plan according to the person's ability, it's up to the person, to show up. So show up for each workout, knock them out. I mean, if you show up, not everybody's going to make every workout. It's just not going to happen. Life gets in the way, and I get it. But the planning part really comes from coach's guidance as far as, okay, let's not train for a long marathon before you want to do the Olympic Nationals race. That's just going to make you a real slow runner. So on that end, we have to look at the periodization throughout the year and the yearly cycle of racing. So that's probably where a coach can help the most, is figuring out the cyclical racing schedule within a client's calendar.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this has been great, Coach Johnny. Where can people find you or find more about your business and sort of what you're up to?
Yeah, check it out on powerhouseracing.net. That's our website. We're updating that from time to time, so there's some new information going on there, some of the new services that we provide. We're going to be moving soon, within a month, we're going to be moving in with my sister in her Pilates studio. So we're going to have our pro shop and everything set up in there. So I'm really looking forward. If you're a local athlete or you're in the greater Houston area, give me a phone call at 281-787-8285. Reach out to me and we can hook up a time and I can show you around the facility, take you through a workout or something like that.
Awesome.
Or you can like me on Facebook, Powerhouse Racing or Johnny Zepeda.
Awesome. Now, how about the Triathlete program? Are you taking on new athletes over there as well?
Absolutely. Triathlete is my training system, so we have a great relationship. And if you're interested in becoming one of my coaching clients, then you can go to Triathlete, the website, and you'll take the 7-day challenge and you'll request Johnny Zepeda as your coach. So I'm always taking on new clients. Awesome. We just had a big input of clients about a month ago. But I always like working with people I know. So sometimes I get people I don't know, kind of like yourself, Mitchell. Now we're friends and we know each other a little bit better.
Yeah.
But if any way I can reach out and market to you guys, that's powerful. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks again, Coach. And
Yeah.
we'll talk to you soon.